They can appear, and so nothing human can make a 90-degree turn at 3,000 miles an hour. And that's my people laugh at me generally, but I'm not going to be, I don't care.
At 89 years old, Apollo astronaut Charles Duke is finally speaking out about what he saw on the moon, and it's different from what you might have heard. Duke holds a unique place in history. He guided Neil Armstrong on his first step from mission control and later became the youngest person to walk on the lunar surface. After years of watching Apollo 16 be overshadowed by other missions, Duke is ready to share the truth. The big question is, what has NASA overlooked for more than 50 years? The invisible astronaut's dual vision. It's a funny world. Before Charles Duke ever set foot on the moon, people worldwide knew his voice like an old friend on the radio. He was in Houston, working for Apollo 11, speaking in his thick southern accent that was steady but full of excitement. When Neil Armstrong said, "The Eagle has landed," Duke replied, "Roger, tranquility, we copy you down. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue here. We're breathing again." Just like that, he became part of history. But here's the catch, Duke didn't get the fame or the headlines. He was the behind-the-scenes voice, calming the astronauts while the heroes got the spotlight. This unique job shaped him in ways most people don't realize. Imagine being the CAPCOM. You are the link between Earth and space. Each word matters because everyone is listening. One mistake could replay endlessly. During Apollo 11, there was no room for error. Armstrong and Aldrin were close to danger, and Duke's steady voice guided them back safely. He celebrated their success, not as a sidekick, but as someone who helped them achieve it. It's a strange situation. You're the steady support for others, while wishing you could experience it too. Duke later admitted that those tense moments stayed with him, like a lingering itch. He wasn't just commenting, he was deeply involved, but stuck at the console. Duke's experience during Apollo 16 was different. While Neil Armstrong spoke beautifully and Buzz Aldrin had his fun, Duke felt the weight of both being at mission control and landing on the moon. He guided the astronauts and heard his voice come back from another world. He had a perspective that no one else had. He is often overlooked. Duke balanced being a key voice for Apollo 11 and exploring the moon during Apollo 16. His southern drawl became famous, with people mimicking him from Texas to Tokyo, yet many don't recognize his face. He worked in the shadows until he finally stepped into the light. Now, in his late 80s, he shares stories that feel like sharing with friends at a local gathering. Guiding Neil and Buzz, it was like helping kids ride a bike for the first time. Scary, but exhilarating. Landing himself, he couldn't shake the comparison between data feeds and the actual surface, the quiet hum of space. He saw things no one else did, bringing together both experiences. For a long time, he kept quiet, overshadowed by bigger names and memories. But now he's speaking out, and it feels different. It's not just about aliens or conspiracy theories. It's about the deep experience of witnessing from a distance and then stepping into the spotlight, making him the ultimate voice from the moon. Lately, when he says we've missed the mark about our understanding of the moon, he isn't just reminiscing. He speaks with deep knowledge from both perspectives, being there and watching from afar. Then there's the big question that keeps me thinking. When Duke finally set foot on the moon during Apollo 16, he saw something that didn't match the training, the data, or even the stories Buzz and Neil brought back. It surprised him enough to break his silence now. What did Charles Duke see on the moon that changed everything for him? And why is he sharing it now? Visual revelations, what the youngest moonwalker actually saw. When Charles Duke stepped out of the lunar module during Apollo 16, he expected the moon to look like it did in the simulations. Endless grey dust, sharp craters, and a vast space. But the real surprise wasn't the moon's surface, it was what surrounded it, or what wasn't there. Imagine being in your backyard at midnight. You see stars twinkling against a soft blanket of darkness that you often take for granted. Remove all that, no stars, no air, just a deep, empty blackness. Duke saw this when he looked out of his helmet. He described the contrast as incredible, because the deep blackness of space starkly opposed the bright white of the moon's surface. Cameras struggled to capture this contrast accurately, making it look uninteresting. To see it in person, it was mind-blowing, far beyond what people expect. This experience stayed with him for years. On Earth, shadows blend softly into sunlight, but on the moon, every rock stood out sharply, and shadows were as dark as fresh ink. Many people look at Apollo photos and think they represent the real thing, Duke disagrees. Nah, that's the tame version. Up close, overload. Reality too wild for film. Another surprising fact is that they couldn't even see Earth from where they were. The famous images of Earth, a small blue planet hanging above the moon, aren't what Duke experienced. Earth was directly above their heads, out of view. Duke explained that if you tried to look straight up in the suits, you would only see the inside of your helmet, like looking at a brick wall. The gear that protected them limited their view. It's surprising, right? We often picture astronauts gazing at Earth with awe. But the truth was that Duke and his crew had to twist and turn to get a glimpse. Their gear was heavy and restrictive, making any view awkward. There was no grand moment, just the challenge of moving in uncomfortable suits. That's why he is speaking out now, decades later. He wants people to know the real moon, not the polished version. It wasn't a beautiful place filled with wonders. It was harsh, filled with challenges, and didn't care if they were there. The helmet limited their perspective, only allowing them to see a small part of the world around them. Looking around felt clumsy and disorienting, quite different from the smooth movements portrayed in documentaries. But the essence of the experience was profound. The stark black and white contrast wasn't just visually striking, it felt deep and spiritual. Duke realized the moon wasn't like deserts or mountains, it was a foreign land, indifferent to humanity, making you feel insignificant. He struggles to convey that. We've simplified it into a scenic backdrop for photographs. Duke wants to clarify that the reality he faced was more intense than any image can show. It wasn't just about posing or taking photos, it was about being overwhelmed by extreme sights, which put their very being to the test. Why share this now? Duke believes there are too many misconceptions. Movies, posters, and even NASA often depict a tame moon that doesn't reflect the real experience. He wants to set the record straight. The beauty up there wasn't just breathtaking, it was also frightening because it exposed human vulnerability. This makes you wonder, if the popular images missed the more profound truth, how much of Apollo's story is simply illusion? Duke's perspective shifts the narrative completely, but he mentions that the visuals were only part of the journey. What drives him now is uncovering the truths that history overlooks for glamour. The key takeaway is that what Apollo 16 discovered got lost amid the polished images and footprints, and Duke believes these findings are more significant than the views we often seek. The Forgotten Mission, Apollo 16's hidden scientific triumphs. Duke and John Young didn't just perform during the encore, they changed the game entirely. They placed an advanced telescope on the moon, capturing far ultraviolet light that our atmosphere usually blocks. This gave us the first clear view of stars from space, and Duke called it a crack in the cosmos, which changed everything. They spent 71 hours on the moon, more than other missions. Their time was focused on science, not just fun. They drove the lunar rover over 16 miles and collected 209 pounds of samples, which still puzzle scientists today. Their equipment was serious. X-ray and gamma-ray tools helped map the moon's chemistry and changed our understanding of how it formed. However, Apollo 16 is often overlooked in space history. Duke admits it lacked the dramatic events of other missions, but stresses that its findings are important treasures hidden on the moon's surface. To stay sane, they joked around, like during the Lunar Olympics, showing they were human too. Duke's close call while jumping reminds us of the risks they faced. Every sample they collected has contributed to ongoing scientific discovery, but Apollo 16's achievements often get ignored. Now, decades later, Duke wants more recognition for Apollo's hard work and the stories waiting to be uncovered in the moon's dust. He worries that if 16 fades away from memory, the entire Apollo story might be forgotten. Duke is determined to protect these essential truths and highlight their relevance today. What new motivation is he creating, and why does it matter more now than ever? The Truth Defender, Duke's modern mission against denial. These days, Duke faces more doubters than ever. Some people claim the moon landing was faked. Recently, a heckler confronted him, insisting it was all a hoax. Duke remained calm and replied, "Sir, I was there." This response is robust, since few can say they spoke to Neil Armstrong from Houston and handled moon rocks. It's upsetting for Duke that, after 50 years, people still deny Apollo. He knows the issue goes beyond NASA and involves the sacrifices made by astronauts. Ignoring their journey undermines the risks they took to return home. To counter the claims, Duke shares details only someone who has been there would know: the 1/6 gravity, the hot sun, and the quietness of space. He stresses the reality of the 800 pounds of moon rocks disproving the hoax theory. Lately, he's been speaking out to share his experiences with audiences. He wants his grandkids and future generations to understand the truth of Apollo, the challenges and risks involved. Duke's tone has changed from nostalgic to urgent. He is now focused on correcting the myths. He knows deniers will not disappear, but he hopes to inspire at least one person to recognize the truth of the moon landing. As he continues to share his message, what story does he keep to himself as his ultimate proof? Racing against time, the legacy mission. Duke feels the pressure of time. Of the 12 men who walked on the moon, only 4 are still alive, and he is one of them. This reality weighs on him. He has spoken in interviews about feeling responsible for ensuring the Apollo story is not lost or distorted as his generation fades away. In recent years, Duke has become more public. He does more interviews, school visits, and talks with museum groups. He believes it is his duty to share his experiences. Textbooks give facts, but they often miss the feelings of standing on the moon, the silence, the calmness, and Earth hanging in the distance. Those details will be forgotten if he doesn't share them now. At the South Carolina State Museum, he engaged with a group of enthusiastic children, their eyes wide with wonder and curiosity. With a warm smile, he recounted the incredible experience of walking on the moon, not merely planting a flag, but a monumental achievement showcasing the limitless potential of human ingenuity and perseverance. His words aimed to ignite their imaginations, encouraging them to dream without boundaries, as he once did when the Apollo missions were still a distant aspiration. Duke perceives the Artemis program not only as a revival of the spirit of Apollo, but also as a vital opportunity for the next generation of astronauts. He envisions this endeavor as a pivotal step toward venturing deeper into space, particularly the quest for Mars. Duke firmly believes the moon was the first chapter in humanity's broader cosmic exploration. As he approaches his 90th year, Duke is acutely aware of the passage of time. His deepest wish is for his grandchildren to grasp the authentic narrative surrounding the Apollo missions, not the myths or conspiracy theories that often overshadow the truth, but the foundational story that can inspire future explorations. He hopes they will uncover the genuine legacy he leaves behind and see it intertwined with the groundbreaking Artemis missions, which promise an exciting future in space exploration. Duke leaves us with a big question. Are we ready to go to Mars or focus on the moon first? What do you think? Share your thoughts below.